Tomás Pinpin was a printer, writer and publisher from Abucay, a municipality in the province of Bataan, Philippines, who was the first Filipino printer and is sometimes referred as the Prince of the Filipino Printers. Pinpin is remembered for being the first native Filipino to publish and print a book, Librong Pagaaralan ng Mga Tagalog ng Uicang Castilla, in 1610, entirely written by himself in the Old Tagalog orthography. Biography. Early life. Tomás Pinpin was born in Barrio Mabitang, Abucay, Bataan, between 1580 and 1585. The exact dates of birth and death as well as his parentage are unknown because in 1646 Dutch looters raided his hometown of Abucay and burned the parish records. However, his last name indicates that he must have had Chinese ancestors. He is thought to have first come into contact with the printing world around 1608 to 1609, learning from the work of other Christian Chinese printers such as Juan de Vera, Pedro de Vera, and Luis Beltran, who had already printed several books for Spanish missionaries. Pinpin started working as an apprentice at the printing press in Abucay in 1609. The printing press was run by the Dominicans, and Father Blancas employed young Pinpin and taught him the printing techniques of the time. In just 1 year he had developed enough skills to be promoted to printing manager. Work as a printer. In 1610 he printed the book Art y Reglas de la Lengua Tagala by his mentor Father Francisco Blancas de San Jose, and in the same year his famous Librong Pagaaralan ng Mga Tagalog ng Uicang Castilla was printed by his assistant Diego Talagay. The book contained 119 pages divided into 5 parts and was meant to help Filipinos learn the Spanish language. The prologue reads, although the Librong Pagaaralan was the first printed book written by a Filipino in the local Tagalog language, it was not the first one in history, as it had been preceded by Doctrina Cristiana en Lengua Española y Tagala that had been printed in Tagalog, in both Latin script and the commonly used Babayan script of the natives of the time. In the year 1593, in 1612 Pinpin supervised the setup of a printing press owned by the Franciscans in Pila, Laguna, where he printed Vocabulario de Lengua Tagala by Fray Pedro de San Buenaventura, which was the first dictionary of a language of the Philippine Islands ever printed. He is also known to have printed at Binondo, Manila, between 1623 and 1627. As the early printing press was being transported to several places to bring the art of printing, in 1637 he published and printed what is thought to be the first newspaper in the Philippines, the 14-page Susos Felices, that reported mainly on Spanish military victories. It is estimated that all throughout his career, from 1609 to 1639, Tomás Pinpin printed at least 14 different publications. Late years, based on the fact that a book printed in 1648 contained the sentence, printed in the office of Tomás Pinpin. Historians believe that later in life he must have opened a printing shop together with his son Simon, to whom he taught the art of printing, and whose name appears on several books from the Jesuit press. This is not the church where Tomás Pinpin set up the printing press owned by the Franciscan. It was in Old Pila Church, now a ruin in Tirado, Victoria, Laguna. Death and afterward there are no other records of Tomás Pinpin after 1648, so both the date of his death and the place are unaccounted for. Books printed. Art y Reglas de Lengua Tagala, 1610, by Padre Blancas. Librong Pagaaralan ng Mga Tagalog ng Uicang Castilla, 1610. Vocabulario de Lengua Tagala, 1612, by Pedro de San Buenaventura. Relación de Martirio, 1625. Triunfo, by Carreras, 1626. Artilicano, by Lopez, 1627. Vocabulario de Japón, 1630. Confesionario, by Herreras, 1636. Susos Felices newspaper, 1637. Relación de la vida y martirio del Jesuita P. Mastrillo,